Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
You're so ugly you could be a modern art masterpiece. Get up here, fat boy! Well, any fucking time, sweetheart! Did your parents have any children that lived?
Sir, yes, sir.
I bet they regret that. I bet you're the kind of guy that would fuck a person in the ass and not even have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reach around. I'll be watching you. You little scumbag. I got your name. I got your ass. You will not laugh. You will not cry. You will learn by the numbers. I will teach you.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's Weedle, and today I have the new Czechoslovakian Tier 9 light tank, the Šelma. Now, last week I did the Blech. I thought it was an absolute blast to play, so what did I think of this one? Well, on a scale of 2 out of 10, it being a pure light tank, I would give it like a 2 out of 10. I think it's below average as a scout tank. It's honestly too big. It's roughly the size of a Tier 9, Tier 10 Russian medium tank. It's literally that big. You get beside them and you're like, wow, it's like the same silhouette. I think that's the problem with it. When it feels big when I'm driving around the battlefield, it feels kind of sluggish, even though it's 60 kilometers an hour, you know, top speed, traverse, everything seems to be okay, but it's just so long that it just doesn't seem like it gets turned around as fast as some of the other Tier 9 light tanks. Overall, it feels a lot like a medium as far as its handling. Standard loadout for this, I would go CVS. I think you need to be able to spot tanks in bushes. I go exhaust system because I think you need to boost the concealment on this as much as possible. And then I'm going with vents. Partly on this is I'm sacrificing a little bit of view range because honestly this thing's not a great passive scout, but I need the extra concealment as much as I can. Anything you can do to boost concealment on this thing, it really does help it. That being said, one important crew skill that you're going to need on this, if you're going to get the most out of this tank, you need intuition. You need to be able to swap quickly from your HE to your AP to your special rounds for that extra penetration. Even though it does less damage, sometimes you're still going to have to shoot them. It just is what it is. What kind of situations? Well, first, is this tank even fun to play? And I would say overall, yes, but I've had less fun in this than I did the Tier 8. The Tier 8 was a blast. As far as fun to play, I'd probably put this at like a 7 out of 10. I have more fun playing this tank than I do other Tier 9 light tanks. I just do. I think it's above average on that fun scale. Though it's kind of a below average Tier 9, which is kind of weird. Most of the time I don't like bad tanks, but this one kind of holds a little special place in my heart. It's I'm going to call this an assault light tank, and I got some gameplay footage after this. I'm going to show you how that actually works out, and the situations you can get this thing. It depending on the situation it's in, it is completely inadequate for the job or OP. That's kind of how I put it. It does a lot of damage or no damage, and it definitely feast and famine when I'm playing this thing. I've been slowly kind of getting the hang of it and getting better with it, but most of my problems have been just due to its size. It's just I get spotted a lot in areas that I just don't think I'm going to get spotted in, and it's so big that no one misses shooting at it. So that's it for the general review. I do want to point out one thing that really helps this thing is excellent gun handling and very high DPM for a Tier 9 medium tank, or light tank, technically. Alright, time for the replay, and the first thing you probably notice is Insk, really, on a light tank, yes. Insk is basically this thing's natural habitat. So you're going to want to get comfortable. Insk, Himmelsdorf, those maps that most people think are bad for light tanks are actually good for this. Because remember, this is an assault light tank. You want to be able to get in close. You want ways to flank tanks. And Insk is honestly probably one of the best maps for that. Ironically, as small as it is, there's lots of ways to flank tanks. Now, in this battle, I want to show strengths and weaknesses. And right here is the biggest weakness of this tank. When you only can get a few shots off, and you can't dump a whole magazine or something, you end up with this, 88 damage. And I would say every single Tier 9 light tank in the game would have done more damage than this tank in that situation. It just is. Which is why part of the reason I have this thing rated so low. But I do want to say the potential of this tank to do considerably more damage than other light tanks, given the same game, I think is actually pretty high. Most of the time when I have good games in this, I would have, if I'd have been in another light tank, I would not have done that amount of damage. It's just the way I kind of found this thing working. Sometimes the situations are bad for it, but when they're good, you can honestly carry in this thing more so than other tanks. Now, I've noticed the M6Y is out of position, and I'm going to make my way over to him. Now, the main thing I'm worried about right here is that there's a tank sitting on 6 line. But, yeah, watch this. Again, heavy tank engaging from the side, 477 damage. Now, aside from the AMX, which that's a maybe, I don't think another Tier 9 light tank, or even Tier 10 for that matter, is doing that amount of damage. Certainly the, yeah, those that, there's some that can get in that 400s, but really, this thing's ability to dish out damage, I find to be kind of unique, and on both good and bad. It just is. So now I'm going to start moving up on the side here. Now that I'm reloaded, I want to start trying to flank this M6Y. But look at that. Load pulls out. Catch him out of position. And just going to dump that magazine as quick as I can. The hardest part of this tank is you're going to have to learn to be very aggressive and conserve your HP. And this would not be a good beginner light tank line to go down, because it plays so differently from every other light tank. Now I'm moving up. I want to get in this M5Y, but I see that ISU 152. Not what I wanted to see. But since this M6Y is not really looking at me, I'm going to finish him off really quickly. And I also see right here my Strisfon 1030 has pulled around that corner and did not get spotted. So I'm going to engage this 152 because I knew he had moved somehow. And 537 damage. Again, a lot of damage for a light tank to just do to a tank that quickly. But working my own way up here again, we're going to engage the low. Now, some of this would not really be possible if they were playing the 6 line right here, but I would already kind of figured out that they weren't by just where tanks were being spotted. But in a moment, I'm going to want to flank this low here and finish him off. And I do see something when I come around this corner here in just a moment. Not what I wanted to be seeing right there is the T95. So that's a bit of a problem. If you see a T95 from the front, there's virtually no way to pin him at all. Even if you're loading your extra penetration rounds, you're not going to really do any damage to him. So I need him to move, or my team to flank him. And once he's kind of lit, I can move around a little bit. But technically, if he loads an HE round right there, he could finish me off, or even high roll me for that matter. But he's moving around. He's wanting to reset cap. And watch this. If you can get behind these tanks. Oh boy. 891 damage. I think that kind of speaks for itself. The high-end damage potential of this tank is insane. It is not a tank I would want to, yeah, right here, just finish him off. 499 damage, plus 50, so there's like 549 damage right there. Absolutely disgusting. Final thoughts? It's a fun tank. Pick it up, play it. If you master this tank, it's quite disgusting. Like I said, if you can master the map awareness to be able to move around, flank tanks, and just dump magazines and stuff. Like, you dump 3 or 4 magazines into something, you've had a really good game. If you get like on the side of something, it racks up damage really quickly. That being said, if you're like the classic, you like passive scouting and bushes, you will absolutely hate this thing. So gotta keep that in mind. But if you're looking for something that has a very unique playstyle that is kind of fun, it's a good tank to play. It has its flaws, but if you overcome them, yeah, not too bad.